So let's talk about fasting, right? So I went and did a fasting retreat for a week back in the ashram, right? Before leaving the US, I thought I'll double dip, my nacho chip in the ashram sauce. Since I really liked the first one and some crazy shit happened to me in the first silent retreat, I thought, why not go again and see what happens? Which made me realize while I was going through a week of water fasting, and this is not a surprise, but consistently I'm still surprised by this myself. Sometimes I catch myself at least and go, I am not an extreme person, So as I was sitting there in hunger, I thought, wow, 4 weeks ago I did a whole week of silence. Now I'm back to do a whole week of no eating. And in 8 weeks, I'm doing a darkness retreat, which is a whole week of no light. I wonder what is wrong with me. Everything that's wrong with me is everything that's the best parts of me. Like the juiciest, it's like the fat in a steak or something. The juiciest, unhealthiest parts of me. What made me great? What is making me a fascinating person? What has made me someone that's juicy and tasty? So before I start with the experience of fasting, let me tell you this story. So there was this old rich man. This, I presume, is an ancient Indian story. I don't know where the story is from, right? I heard it from an Indian guru. It must be ancient and Indian, right? I don't know. I haven't verified this. But there was a man long ago that was incredibly wealthy, but couldn't find any peace in his life, right? He could not find, with all the rich, with all the gold, with all the food, with all the pleasure, with all the women, with everything he had in life, he could not find any rest and any peace. So eventually he started on his spiritual journey and he started visiting all these gurus to learn from them how to find inner peace. And, he traveled wide and far and spent all his riches and showered these gurus in gold and tried everything. And he just could not get to the place he wanted to get to. And none of these gurus could teach him how to find inner peace. So at some point he almost gave up and he's like super depressed and he's hopeless and he's thinking about suicide. And then one day in his village, the village idiot sees him. And the village idiot usually doesn't speak to anybody. Nobody speaks to the village idiot. But the idiot walks over to him and says, it's been unbearable for the last few years. I've seen you, run around like crazy, inviting these gurus, spending all this money. You seem so unhappy. And I know I'm the village idiot, and nobody wants to listen to me. And I usually don't even bother talking to anybody. But there's a village and there's a guru there. And I think he could help you. So the rich man would not follow the fucking village idiot's advice, but he's so desperate. He's like, what can I lose? Fuck it. And he goes to his fucking castle mansion and he takes his most precious diamonds and stones and all his wealth and he gets on his travel to get to that village and find this guru, and it's going to be his one last attempt, his one go, all in. Either this is going to do it or nothing. And he has a big bag of all these kind of massive stones that are the accumulation of all his wealth to give to the guru to lay it at its feet if that guru really can teach him. So he arrives at the village and he asks where the guru is and they tell him, and he goes into the forest next to the village and under a specific tree there sits the guru. So the fat rich man starts talking to the guru and tells him, Guru, I've heard about you. I've tried everything. I've traveled to all these other gurus. I want to find inner peace. I can't do it. I'm willing to pay any price to make me find inner peace. The guru looks at him curiously and goes, what's in that bag? And he goes, this bag are the most beautiful diamonds and rubies and, whatever else and most precious gold. And the guru says, can I have a look? So he gives the guru the bag and the guru grabs the bag and runs away. And so the fat rich guy is like, what the fuck? And starts running behind the guru, right? And the guru is pacing into the village. And the fat rich man is like, fucking village idiot. Why did I listen to him? Fuck this. I'm being robbed. God damn it. Screaming, shouting. It's trying to catch up with the guru, but the guru is fucking, light on his feet and he knows the little village. So he walks through all these little aisles and just kind of, eventually the fat man has lost him and he's at the middle square of the village and he's screaming and he's angry and red in his face and sweaty. And a bunch of people from the village curiously come out, and just check him out, like, what is going on here? And he screams at them and tells them the guru stole all my wealth and this is not a real guru and you guys are all idiots and what kind of fucking village is this? And they tell him, well, we saw him. He just ran back to the forest. He's probably just at his tree. Just go to his tree again. So the fat man, runs back out of the village into the forest forest, and lo and behold, the fucking guru sits at the tree and is looking at the bag, It's like, so the rich man walks up to the guru, and the guru smiles at him and gives him the bag, and the rich man grabs the bag and holds it really close to him, and he's like sweating and puffing, and he's like, what the fuck was this? And he says to the guru, why did you do this for? And the guru asks him, how did you feel the moment I gave you back your wealth? He's like, I felt amazing. I felt relieved. He's like, did you feel at peace? He's like, yeah, all right, have a nice day then. So this pretty much summarizes my fasting experience, at least it touches upon it without me really needing it or wanting it or knowing about it.
Okay.
So when I mentioned it to you, I'd already said it, I had never thought about fasting in my life. Not really seriously. I heard a lot about it. I always heard it was very healthy, but it was sort of like, yeah, cool, but there's no impulse in me that makes me go, ooh, I'm curious, or ooh, I want to do it. Now, a month ago, when I was on the silent retreat, some people talked about fasting as a spiritual practice. And I'd heard about, fasting is almost part of every religion in the world and any spiritual system, but I'd never considered fasting for spiritual reasons. I don't know. I didn't consider it for health reasons either, but not also for spiritual reasons. But when I heard it, something inside of me clicked and I became curious and I thought, I ought to do this one day. And it was probably because it was fitting into the theme of removing things from life, silence, stillness. And I thought, it's a sort of silence program for the body, right? You basically stop giving the body food, which is nourishment, but also noise to some degree. It is energy, but also work, right? It is health, but also toxic. So I thought, what could and would happen to me if I silence the body, not through not speaking, but by not eating for a whole week? So, and then I thought, well, what would be better than just coming back to this place? There's lots of nature. There's lots of people fasting every week here. They're sort of like our experts at it. And it's probably much easier to fast not at your home with a kitchen of stuff and with, all your normal habits, to be just at a different place. And since I'm doing this as a sort of, inner work exploration and spiritual meditation, that kind of fits not being at my normal home, So that's as far as I thought about it. Obviously, I'm still fucking FD, so, I read a bunch of books about it because I can't help myself sometimes. But nothing there. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of interesting things, a lot of information that you can get excited about and interested in. But the best piece of advice, hold on to your chair. You're going to be surprised. The best piece of advice was just listen to your body, right? Take it one day at a time. For instance, if you're thirsty, because I was doing a water fast, so I was only drinking water. I was not drinking anything else or eating anything else. It's funny how often I have to clarify this. I would think water fast is sort of self-explanatory, but it's not at all, right? If you haven't done it, people are like, okay, so just tea and coffee and water and soup, but no meat. I'm like, no, just pure water. No, nothing else, truly nothing else. People are like, okay, but what were you supplementing? Like those supplements, right? Just water. And so when you're thirsty, you drink. And when you're not thirsty, you don't drink. There's no rule on how much water you should drink. There's only the rule that if you drink and force yourself to drink when you don't feel like drinking, you're going to get in trouble. Things will go bad. And if at the beginning you go through some discomfort, that's probably normal. But if you go through a certain type of discomfort 3, 4, 5 days into the fast, so a little later into the fast, that's probably a good sign that tells you stop right now, right? So some people throw up the first day. They're like, that's kind of normal. Some people have problems with bathroom visits. That's kind of normal. Some people get dizzy or a little nauseated. That's kind of fine. But if you get these symptoms 4 days in, if you start puking 4 days in, it's probably a really bad sign. If you can't hold water, although you want to drink, probably a very bad sign. If you have a certain type of pain, people have all kinds of pain, like muscle pain, ache pain. Some people have nothing. It really depends. But the general rule is just listen to your body. Take it one day at a time. In the morning, tell yourself, make the decision, am I going to do another 24 hours? Yes or no? If you say yes, do it. Unless extreme circumstances come up. Don't just give in to little impulses. And then listen to your fucking body. You have to be your own shaman. You have to be your own guru. You have to be your own doctor in many cases. Just listen to your body. Your body will tell you things pretty clearly sometimes if you listen carefully enough. So that was the best advice. And then the other advice that I got that's very generic but so fucking good was how you prepare the fast and how you break it is everything. It's everything. Most people fuck up in the breaking of the fast. So, they fast and then they think, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start eating. And then they just eat too much, too quick, or the wrong foods. And their digestive system is still shut down. And now you're asking for trouble. You threw in a bunch of shit your body isn't prepared for. It's not going to be a pretty sight. The same thing with the prep. I was so grateful. I was so eternally grateful that I did 2 days of juice fasting before starting the water fast. Oh my God. I was thanking God and everybody because I was thinking this would be not good at all. I don't think I could have done a 5-hour fast, a 5-day fast as smooth as I did, water fast, without the 2 days of juice fasting prior. I could just tell the first day of juice fasting how my body was like, wait, there's no solid food? What is going on? Da-da-da. And I had these urges, and once I grabbed like a little handful of nuts and I had a bit of nuts, and my body was like, ah. And then also my kind of bathroom visits started being different. And then the second day I could start my body already shutting down a little. Like I was just in a little bit of a buzz. And all of a sudden I thought that I would have some nuts that day too. But the second day my body was like, no, just fluids. You don't want anything else. And, it was kind of getting into the zone. So by the first day of water fasting, I felt like my body had cleansed to some degree and cleared up and was in a much more prepared state to fast. So I would not want to venture water fasting cold turkey. And after the water fast, I did 2 days again of soup and broths, right? Only. And that as well, I feel is very, very prudent and very good and very smart. No way could I imagine eating, fried chicken and,
shocking the system.
Like some real shocking the system. Only terrible things could happen afterwards to you. So those are it's very generic advice, but that was the most useful advice to me before the fast. So here's how it went for me, like what I experienced on multiple layers. There was not a single thing that happened that was the one aha moment, the one, this is the big insight, or this is the big realization. Nothing like that happened. But a number of beautiful moments happened to me, and it was an incredible experience that I would recommend to anyone. I would recommend to anyone to do a fast. I don't know if it has to be 5 days, could be 1 day, could be 3, could be 20 days. I don't know. Everybody has to decide that on their own, but it was a very precious experience for me. First, it was interesting to experience this kind of altered state. Now, I have so much experience with altered states, both from hypnosis, over psychedelics, over meditation, a lifetime of playing with different levels of awareness and altering my levels of consciousness, that there is a catalog to pick from and to compare with. And it was at times kind of a slow psychedelic buzz, just a microdosing buzz, where colors had a different intensity, where things had a different intensity. At times it was close to maybe a light fever or a sickness, just a sort of heaviness and weakness in the body that you only experience with sickness typically. There was a gentleness and a slowness that, was sometimes there and sometimes wasn't. And there were many things that were just little beautiful unfoldings of realizations or of life for me. So the first day, let's go through it day by day, right? So the first day, we're starting the fast, and from the 2 days of juicing, I felt pretty good. And even the 2 days of juicing, I thought, oh my God, I should do this more often. The body was clearly telling me, thank you for not putting so much food in our system. Let us clean out here first a little bit. So that was kind of nice. And I was surprised how much energy I felt on the first day of water fasting. Now, I have to say, the 5 days of fasting at the ashram, I was probably more active. They were probably more strenuous and more intense than most people's fasting experience would be. So my schedule looked something like this. I would wake up at 6 a.m. I would go to do mantras with a group that was there chanting for half an hour from 7 to 7:30. Then I would go for an hour walk. Then I would typically come back and just lay down a little bit and read. Then I would go to a workshop. So I decided, in hindsight, could I have done a little less? Yes. But, I had decided prior to book 2 workshops. So I did an anger workshop during that week that one day we should talk about on the podcast. And then just to creatively stimulate myself, I looked at all the other workshops, and the one workshop that was sort of the least appealing to me, that I knew the least about, was a chakra workshop. And I'm like, I'm doing the chakra. Why not? Chakra, rakra, why not? Like, I don't know what those are. Let's go. Like, I'm going to be fasting. I need some entertainment or some interesting information. I'll sit there, I'll learn. If it's nothing for me, then whatever. I still now know more about chakras than before. So I did an anger release workshop and then a chakra workshop. So that was, depending on the day, an hour of sort of, turns out the anger workshop was basically an hour of breathing, intense breathing exercise. It was like a Wim Hof, but from a yogi, right? Like a lot of breathing, intense breathing exercises, which I think in hindsight really aided the fasting experience for me and was probably a big reason why I was able to be so active during the 5 days. Because come to think of it, where does the body release? So the first couple of days when you are fasting, the body will just, use what's already in the system and in digesting, right, for energy. Once all that is cleared out, the body will now look for other sources of energy, right? And so it will start with your fat cells, and it will start at looking at all the garbage, like just dead cells, anything that's not good, but you might squeeze some energy out of, and it will process that. Now, when your body's processing toxins and dead cells and all that shit, and all the, it will not feel good to you, right? It's like you will feel the terribleness of the, garbage cleaning that's going on inside of you. Now, usually your body releases all the garbage through a channel that's as far away from your head as possible, right? And so you don't have to deal with it, face to face. But when you don't have to go, when you fast for so long, you don't go to the bathroom anymore other than peeing if you drink. So peeing is one way, urine is one way to release some toxins from the body. But what other ways does the body have? You're not going number 2. You're not sweating because you're not really working out profusely. That's not a way to release it. So the only other channel is breath. You're breathing out a lot of garbage. And that's why also, mouth smell is not delicious during water fasting. And I think that going out in the early morning, cold air, and doing intense breathing exercises, probably not a bad idea, right? Probably helped me a lot. So I was doing an hour of walk, break for reading. Then I would do an hour of workshop with a lot of breathing exercises. Then I would do an hour of reading. Then I would do an hour of yoga. Then I would meditate. Then I would go back to reading. Then I would go to the last chanting of the day, 30 minutes of chant. And then I would go for a last little stroll, half an hour of walk during the night. And then I would read for an hour and then I would sleep. It was basically the first 3 days. My sleep was surprisingly good. I know this is something I read everywhere, that you're not going to sleep or not going to need much sleep. Some people just sleep 1 hour, some people just 2 or 3, because your body doesn't work. It doesn't expend any energy, so you can't sleep usually. But my body was expending energy because I was active. Now, every activity I was doing, I was pacing it, because every time, I would go for a walk, but then the next hour I would just lay in bed. And trust me, the moment I would lay in bed, I would be like, oh my God, I was shivering. I was cold, and I would under the blanket, and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't move. I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. After the activities, I always felt like poop, and I always felt like I can't do anything anymore. And before the next activity, I felt, oh my God, if I hadn't scheduled these things in my mind and day, I would have not left my bed. Same in the morning. Do you think I wanted, in the morning, I did not want to go up and do fucking mantra chanting. I was like, this is the last thing I want to do on earth, is get up. I felt like a bear in winter sleep. I was so cuddled, so cold. I was like, I don't want to. I was not deep asleep, but I was not awake either. Yeah. I was like, no. But then the moment I would open the door and I would walk out, it was cold and fresh air. I'd be like, and I would see the sunrise. I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, this is much better. And I would wake up and I would sit there and do the chanting, and afterwards go on a walk. I'd be like, oh God, I'm so glad I did this. And I left my bedroom. I left my cave, because I think it gave my body a way to, release the toxins in different ways, to refreshen, to move, not tensen. I don't know. It felt that it was very good for me. But I had a very full day. So I would typically be exhausted out of my mind at around 9 p.m. and would fall asleep between 9 to 10 p.m. and I would wake up between 5 to 6 a.m. So I had pretty fucking good sleep. Yeah. I can't complain on sleep. So first day, I was money, everything was pretty good. I mean, I hated the taste in my mouth. At some point, it started not being a nice taste, and I'd love to have a coffee or an espresso or something, but it was fine. I was surprised how easy that day went. I was like, this was not the hardest day. I got hungry at some points, but it's fine. The second day I woke up at 5 and I felt terrible nausea. And I thought, I guess I'm going to have to go and throw up soon. And I thought, how interesting. And I thought it's probably good for me. I haven't thrown up in ages, and who knows, it's probably some shit in my body that my body can handle or whatever. Let's see. So I was just sitting there and waiting for that to happen for an hour, and then it kind of didn't. And I thought, maybe I won't. And I wanted to drink water. The moment I touched the water bottle, I felt my body said very loudly, no. It's like when you had all the tequila shots and a friend brings you one more that you don't want and you smell it and your whole body screams no. And you put it down involuntarily. I cannot. If I do this, terrible things will happen to me. I can't. I reached my limit. This is how my body felt. My body was just no water. And I thought, interesting. I'm so glad I read that comment about when you don't have to drink a certain amount. A lot of people get sick because they think they have to drink a certain amount every day and they drink too much. Just trust your body. I thought, okay, this is good because I'm such an avid water drinker that I might have forced myself. But I thought, okay, I won't drink. I feel a little nausea anyways. Let's wait till it's gone. So the second day went on and I still did all my activities. And once I was out and about, I felt a little better and I had energy. Actually, those workout stations you can buy for home where you can make dips and pull-ups and crunches. So they had one of these things hang out, and every day to test my strength, I would start working out on that thing. This is another thing I did. When I would walk past and I felt good, I was like, let's see if I can do some dips. And this first day I did a bunch of them. I did a little workout. And the second day, again, I had the energy for everything. And I was like, this is really great. But I would have these waves of nausea, feeling sick. But still, it would come, it would go, and I would go on with my day. But one thing that didn't come and go was that I couldn't drink at all. That entire day, I didn't drink almost anything. 3 times, I put, let's say, 4 drops in my mouth just to do the, when you just water the mouth, there's nothing to swallow because it's basically a little, like a replacement for saliva. Yeah. I did that 3 times. I couldn't drink the entire day. So my second day was basically a dry fast. Okay. I didn't drink and didn't eat. But it was not voluntary. I didn't decide not to drink. Now, I'm not dumb. Well, that's a big statement. Let's say I'm careful enough and knowledgeable enough that I was paying attention to, am I going to the bathroom to pee? And I will pay attention to the color of my urine, right? Because if it's very dark or if I don't go, maybe I'm, dehydrated. Let's pay attention to that. My mind wanted to also check. The body says no water, but let's also keep an eye on it. But I did go a couple of times and it seemed all right. And I had such a strong sensation. My body was like, don't you dare. If you drink, terrible things will happen to you. I guarantee it. And I was like, all right, I take this promise and this threat seriously, so I guess I'm not drinking. But I so wanted to drink. That was tough. The second day, I really wanted to drink, and it was terrible because my mouth was so dry all day long, and I'm doing all these breathing exercises and yoga and all this shit, and I really want to drink water. And I see other people deliciously drinking water, And I didn't go to the food area, so I wasn't watching people eat delicious lunch and dinner, but water was consumed around me. And I was like, and some people were really loving it. And I'm like, wow, I really would like to drink water, but I just can't. So that was kind of interesting. I could not drink water for the life of me on the second day. And that actually continued for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th day. I started drinking a little bit more, but I would say I was drinking, 3rd and 4th day, I was drinking maybe half a glass to a glass of water the entire day. And only the 5th day, I drank maybe 2 glasses of water. But I drank way less water than I thought. But I would go regularly for pee. My pee looked all right. So I do not know what kind of magic this is and how this works, but I drank very little water. Surprisingly, I never planned for that. And it was not fun. That was not fun, not drinking water, but I don't know why I felt a very strong aversion towards when I would pick up the bottle, I could not drink it to the degree where after the fast, I decided the bottle that I had to fill up water, I have to gift it or throw it away. I cannot drink from that. I look at that and I feel nausea. When I look at that water bottle, I'm like, I don't want anything from that bottle anymore in my life. Anyways, so the first 3 days, my energy level was surprisingly good. I had some hunger pains at times. I had nausea at times. I definitely had waves of tiredness many, many times a day, but I still could do yoga every day. I still did the 2-hour walks every day. I still could do dips and pull-ups at the bar. That was money. On the 4th and 5th day, yoga went out the window. The hour walk was reduced to 20-minute walks, and there was not even a thought of a dip or a pull-up. I was walking past that bar laughing and going, yeah, no, there's no way. I don't even have to try. There's no fucking way I could do anything here. The 3rd and 4th day, I really kind of got into a deeper state of my body is tired and sleep. It's a weird state. It must be the beginning of what bears feel like when they go into winter sleep. It's a sort of awakened winter sleep. Like it's very different, very hard to describe, but definitely could not do yoga anymore. I did on the 3rd day, I did a 3rd walk towards the end of that day, and it was a very long walk. And at the end of that walk, I really regretted it with the depths of my heart. It was a bit too much. And so I'd already thought, all right, tomorrow I need to go easy. And the next day I just did a 20-minute walk, and I almost regretted that on day 4 of the fast, right? I was like, wow, I'm really tired. Now I have to say, this place is a place where people do fasts like all the time. People travel far and wide to do like at any week, there's at least 5-6 people that are on some sort of a fast. And I was surprised, so I originally had intended to do 1 to 3 days of water fasting. I said, let's do that. I've never fasted in my life. Let's try 1 to 3 days and see how it goes. And because the first 3 days went really well, I thought, why not go the whole week? I can't extend too much because I have to come back to work, but I can do, 4 days basically of juice fasting and 5 days of water fasting. That's 9 days of not having solid food. That's pretty monumental for a first time. That's enough for me. That's probably going to be good. And the 5-day water fasting, I was receiving a lot of praise, a lot of unasked for positive reinforcement, especially towards the end. A lot of people were like, wow, 5 days. I'm talking the monks there, like not just the general population. And one day I was talking to a monk, and he's like, wow, 5 days, man, that's amazing. That's really impressive. Like, wow, that's really an accomplishment. And I went, wait a second. There was a lady yesterday that finished her 10-day water fast. I didn't tell him I have a stupid friend that does a podcast with me that also did a 10-day water fast once, which really took away my thunder for my 5 days. I really could not enjoy it as much knowing that you do 10 days. I mean, fuck. And then I'm like, and then there's this other guy that was an older gentleman there, and he's on day 14 and he plans to do 21 days. I'm like, how is 5 days that impressive? And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, but they're both much bigger than you. And then I thought, what do you mean by that? Sometimes I'm a little naive. I thought, because the older gentleman was taller than me, I thought he went taller. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And he goes, yeah, well, if you have a ton of fat, fasting is much simpler when you have very little fat. Yeah. It's like, you have lost a tremendous amount of weight. I've gotten really skinny in many ways, but I was already skinny when I went there. I had already lost a lot of weight before going there without planning. I was already way below my normal weight when I went there. And that actually, I want to talk about that in a second, but first I have to praise myself through other people's words. So I never thought about that, but he said, yeah, but it's very different when you have a lot of body fat. It's going to be a much easier experience than when you have very little body fat, and your body very quickly stops taking from that tiny bit of fat that's left and has to work different other parts. And then I thought, oh, well, fuck Ramin then. Who knows how he looked like and how much body fat he had when he did his 10 days. I need to see a picture to compare his fast with my fast, okay? So just so you know, that we've said that. Beyond that, the nuns also commented on it at one point, and she was like, but your mood and your activity, you did this like a pro. Like, you were smiling from morning to evening. You were active, walking, yoga, this, the other. Just like, you were really prepared for this. You did everything perfectly. I'm like, thank you for saying this, because I will repeat it word for word, on the podcast, pretending to be humble. So that was kind of nice. Now, I want to talk about this. Little moments of little beautiful unfoldings, let's call it that. So before going to my fast, I had all my stuff from New York. I had a big amount of personal items still in storage in New York, in Manhattan, that was shipped to me to Austin. And one of these items was a digital scale. So just before going to the water fast, I weighed myself. And I hadn't weighed myself in, half a year or so. And when I went on the scale, I actually got a little scared because I saw that I was, 79 kilograms, which is, I typically am between 81 and 82 kilograms. right? 81 is kind of my normal average. Has been my average for the past 5 years probably. And so when I saw 79, I was surprised. I didn't think that I had lost weight, but I knew that I'd stopped doing a lot of weightlifting exercises and I work out a lot less. But my eating habits are kind of the same. Actually, a little worse than before. And so once I saw the numbers on the scale, my ego started going, oh, well, that's probably there was muscle that you've lost because, you're still eating kind of the same stuff, even a little worse when it comes to like the kind of foods you're eating. And now you've lost some weight. How will you look like after a week of water fasting? And I had this image of me that was not attractive at all. And then to add injury to insult, I thought, well, 2 days after the fasting, I'm flying back home and my children and my mother and my brothers and all my friends and everybody hasn't seen me in 5 months now since I've been in Austin will see me and I will look like a skeleton and I will look all pale and unhealthy, And I got a little concerned and a little stressed. So interesting, right? And then I'm telling you, whatever that was 2 days before going, every time I passed a mirror, I would take a glance and then I'd noticed it and I thought, wow, look at how insecure I'm about this whole losing more weight. It really freaks me out. And I had to come to a moment of presence where I smiled and I said, first of all, we don't know what's going to happen during this fast week. Maybe I'll go there and after 1 day of fast, I'll stop and I'll gain weight by eating the delicious food they cook there. Number two, even if I lose a lot of weight and I look like a skeleton, what will happen if people get a little scared for a minute? Like they'll get unscared. I'll add the weight again. Adding weight should not be a problem. That's not something I've heard in humanity be a tremendously difficult thing that needs mastery to accomplish, right? So how could I be worried about this? And so I honestly relaxed and didn't think about that anymore. Now, let me close that loop for you. I come back from the ashram. I started eating again. I feel so full of energy today. I did my breathing exercises. I did my yoga. Like I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out today. I wanted to go do Muay Thai, but I thought, let's give my day one more. Let's give my body some activity. And then if I feel good tomorrow morning, I'll go to Muay Thai. I go do some weightlifting and then look at my mirror for the first time. And I kind of liked what I saw in the mirror. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of looked fucking dumb.
Mean machine.
I looked lean. I had lost some fat, but I did not look skinny and I hadn't lost all my muscles. So that kind of looked good in the mirror, and I looked at the mirror and I was like, hot damn, I don't look that bad. And then the next 3 times I crossed the mirror, I was almost looking for reasons to lose a shirt, to take another look. And I had to laugh so much. And I was like, this is so funny. And then I had dinner. And right after dinner, I was tempted to put myself on the scale and go, how much have I gained today by eating, because I'm back in the eating game now. I'm like, wow, I was scared to be skinny. Now I'm scared to get fat again. Like, what is going on with me? I'm like a 13-year-old teenager. It's so in the background, so small, that I can laugh with it and play with it, but still interesting to see. And honestly, I think I'm downplaying it a little bit when before going, that fear of losing weight, I think did translate in one dream that I had. I had some kind of a dream that was sort of scary about losing weight or looking sick or being unattractive, something. I don't remember the details anymore. I would have to look at my journal. And I remember I woke up and I thought, wow, it seems like the one path my mind is trying to choose to make me afraid of doing the fast is the vanity path, is the, this will attack your looks. Thought, oh, maybe there's something here to learn. Maybe vanity is a big thing for me to look at more, since that seems like the one area where it might be able to stop me. And, thinking about this now for the first time in more detail, yeah, my vanity is probably still one of the less examined parts of my psyche and of my shadow areas, the things that are not light, but that are more lurking in the dark. So there's something there to observe. But I had this thought that, maybe my mind is trying to scare me away from the fasting experience and is choosing vanity as a potential tool to make me pull back, Interesting. The second thing that I wanted to share was food. So I have never loved food deeply. I was always in the liking strongly category, but never in the love. You know this. You have always been in the love category as far as I can tell. There's some people I know that love food, and then there's many people that like it. And most people that like it think they love it until they meet somebody who loves it, who really loves food, right? And so I have not ever loved food. I always just liked it, but I was also at times didn't even care about it that much. And on the first few days, I knew from the get-go that I would not have a difficult time not eating, in the sense of like having these cravings. Oh my God, I need chocolate cake. Oh my God, I need this burger. I will be thinking about the burger all day. Like, I knew this would probably not happen because I never experienced anything like that. And that didn't happen in that way, but something else interestingly happened. On day 4, like when I really was weak and when kind of the end was also in sight, like mentally I knew, okay, another 2 days, I did start during the end of the day to have these kind of strong desires for food. It was more a joyful anticipation, right? I would just go into this half-haze dream-like state of imagining what I will eat. Yes, food fantasy, something I'd never experienced in my life before. I know this must sound difficult to comprehend for somebody who has them daily, but I never had food fantasies in that way, or very rarely and not that intensely. And not only did I send my mother a voice message telling her everything I want her to cook when I'm back, which is something I'd never done before. My mom was so happy. She's been waiting for this moment her whole life for me to actually appreciate her food. But there was a night, on the 4th night, where my mind started to stress over what of all my favorite foods in Austin will I be able to eat before leaving to Germany on Thursday? Because there's only 3 days and 3 meals each day. Now, I also had decided that I'm not going to eat meat until, Tuesday, and I'm going to take it light. And so I was very limited in options, but I had so much that I wanted and so little buckets to put things in. And my mind started to stress. And then I started having thoughts like, I wish I had a week longer in Austin. Why did I have to leave so soon? This is so stressful. And then I had to laugh out loud. And I thought, isn't this a beautiful metaphor for life? Like, first of all, Stelly, God willing, you're going to eat for the rest of your life. You don't have 3 days to eat all the food you'll ever eat. You have your whole life. Germany and Europe also, they have food over there, You can breathe a sigh of relief and relax. Just relax. That's number 1. Relax. Number 2, you don't have to eat all your favorite meals in Austin before you leave. That is not some sort of thing you have to do. All you have to do is eat 3 meals a day, where each meal you absolutely love. If you accomplish that, it's probably the first time in your life you've ever had 9 meals in a row you love. First time. Wouldn't that be an amazing experience? Who gives a fuck if there's another 30? Austin is not gonna run away. You can come back. Like, you don't have to do all this at once, which is such a perfect encapsulation of the stress we create in life unnecessarily in many other areas. And that is what happens when we turn something good into something bad, when we create stress out of good things. This reminds me of my mom. I had a breakthrough with her on that one, where for years she would invite us for Sunday lunch, all her children, all her sons with all their children, and it would be a big group of people, and my mom would cook, 5 different things, and she would run in and out of the kitchen and serve us the food, and we would eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, and by the end we'd be like all dead, and then she would be cleaning everything, and then she'd be in the kitchen cleaning, and eventually we would be leaving. And at no point did we have a chance to really connect with my mother, to talk to her. She would not sit and eat with us. She would not enjoy seeing us eat. She would just stress herself out of her mind, basically cooking all day, cleaning all day, serving all day, and then cleaning all day. Like, what's the point of this? And I had to tell her so many times, I'm not going to be coming because I want to come to spend time with you. And then I get that you want to clean and have everything perfect by the time everybody left, but it's much better than to just go to a restaurant because you're not there. You're not here. You're a ghost. You don't get to really enjoy, wouldn't it be better if all the plates are clean one day later, but you saw the shining faces of your, grandchildren eating your food and enjoying it? You miss all that. You're in the kitchen cleaning. So by the time the last person says goodbye, everything is clean. The home is as empty as it was before, and you sit there just like before. What's the point of that, right? Why did you invite everybody when you didn't see them? You could just ship us the food. So she slowly has come around and now sits and laughs and eats a little and then cleans a lot and has told me that has made a tremendous difference in her experience and that she's really appreciative. I also have such a dope mother. I have the best fucking mom because she learns, even in this age, she takes this feedback on and she changes. But like, it can be food. It can be sex. It can be money. It can be your hobby. You know, like I remember I've chilled a little bit on martial arts. I still love it deeply, but I'm not as obsessed with it as I used to be. And I remember at times, you know, when I came to Thailand the last time, I went to Phuket and we were training. I barely could enjoy any day because I was always in the stress of I should go to a double session today and maybe I should also go to the gym. I was so stressed about how much I was working out and today I'm not feeling like it, but I should go anyways. I was always I'm now in Thailand and there's all this great training I could get and I should get as much as possible. But what is the point if I enjoy none of it? If I'm always stressed, now I'm on vacation for 2 weeks and I'm stressed as if I'm working. I'm turning Muay Thai into making taxes. It's the same feeling. Stress, guilt, stress. What's the point of that? Right? Eventually you fall out of love with everything and anything that way. But it needs awareness and then it needs the grace of letting go and remembering one meal at a time. Life can be long. You don't have to accomplish everything right now. He who runs or she who runs stumbles, as they say in German, right? Like you won't accomplish anything by rushing so much that everything you do is now shitty, right? And you were not there for any of it. And just having that experience with food was just fun and funny and a different thing because I never had that with food. Like that kind of like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. You know, I was literally stressing myself about how much food I'll be able to eat before I leave because I wanted to be careful about what I eat and when I eat. I'm like, oh, I can't get all the food in. It's like, how funny is it? We people are so funny, you know? And honestly, once I came back, the worst meal I've had today, I had amazing meals. You know what my best meal was? This is another beautiful thing that came out of the fast. I knew I wanted to go to a new place that's been highly recommended. There's very kind of fresh food, a lot of vegan, a lot of very healthy food, but very, very yummy. I wanted to go there for lunch. And then I invited Tom to go with me, right? So I said, I'll go to lunch with Tom. Now, typically, I would not always enjoy having lunch with Tom because Tom is so in love with food and is such a quiet person and would eat so slowly. I used to be such a fast eater that the experience was very out of sync. Like I'd be done with food within 10 minutes and he would just slowly and carefully chew on his food and he would not say a word and I would talk and I would talk and I would talk and I would be quiet and there would just be somebody sitting there eating slowly. I would internally die. I was just like, oh my God, this is so boring. Why can't we just leave already? Right? But today, my man, you know how excited I was to eat with Thomas? And I sat down and I could not, the excitement was pouring out of me of every cell and I was so happy and so joyous and had one of the best lunches of my life with Thomas today. Really, I was eating and I was loving him so much and the food so much and he was so overwhelmed but happy how much I loved him and the food. You know, I had an amazing time. I had an incredible, heavenly lunch. You know, so beautiful. I never enjoyed lunch with Tom as much as I did today. It was great. It was so great. But the worst meal that I had was the one I had pre-planned days I had during the retreat. I knew, I'm driving back all Sunday and when I arrive, this is what I'm going to eat. Well, when I arrived, the food was delivered, but honestly, it was not the food that I felt like eating. Like it was not the right food for, you know, the 6.5 hour drive I had and the kind of the tiredness of just finishing the fast and all that. And I ate it. There were moments of delight and it was just like some veggies. It was some basic things, but one item was not at all what I wanted or how I imagined it. It was very kind of vegetarian, very simple, healthy, but it was not that, like I was eating a broth at the ashram I was orgasming by how amazing it was. Like it was so yummy. And this food, I was like so let down. I was a little heartbroken. And I realized part of the problem is, which is another metaphor for life, is that you cannot pre-plan happiness in life way ahead of time, right? You can't say, well, and on the 11th day, we're going to go there. We're going to have this type of fun during our adventure. You cannot do that. That's the only way you can guarantee that you're not going to have a good time. The only thing you need to do is you need to be present today, listen to your body, your heart, and enjoy and ask yourself, what is it that we want today? What would give us delight? What would be healthy and nutritious? What is right now? And then you take it one meal at a time, one step at a time, and you'll be fine. And today I did that and I had a much better experience. Like every meal I had today was delightful. Jesus Christ, this morning I hadn't had coffee all week fasting. I didn't do coffee all week when I did the silent retreat either. But when I came back and drank a double espresso, I was fine. This time I came back and something told me I cannot do an espresso. Like I just can't. But what I still had was Andy's All About Fungi hot chocolate that has caffeine in it, right? And some healthy mushroom powder or whatever. So I thought, a hot chocolate. And it's not a double espresso. It has a little caffeine in it. I can probably do that. And I had this many times before and I felt the caffeine not at all. I had not even half the cup of the hot chocolate and I was wired out of my mind. It was too much. It was too much. I was like, oh my God. I was like on drugs. I'm like, this is too much. My heart was pounding. I'm like, I can't handle this caffeine right now at all. It's too much. It was so funny to experience. But every meal I had today was a delight because I took it one meal at a time. Don't pre-plan too much. This is a timeless mistake that we make as people, is that we, out of a greed and an insecurity, like a fear, what if I lose out of let me cramp as much joy and fun, let me make sure I won't miss anything or miss out on anything. We plan way too far ahead in many areas of our life, right? Especially when it comes to these kind of things. And then we go through a work schedule of say, well, I'm on my travel day 19 and today is having fun with this thing. And you didn't know when you were planning this, how you would feel after 12 days of travel, what kind of adventures and what kind of good and bad you would encounter and what would be right for you on day 13. Are you crazy? And then we're like, well, this isn't right for me. Some people, this isn't right for me at all, but I have it here on the list. It's on the schedule. I got a calendar reminder, so I'm doing it. And now you turned your vacation into work, just a different type of work. You turned food into a different type of obligation, and it's just now an errand you run. You turned having fun with friends into stress, working out, into something that zaps your energy and doesn't refuel you with great energy. We take all these areas that we say are not work and we turn them to work. We take all these areas of our lives that we say should be there to release stress, to stress ourselves with them. Because when you bring stress to something, you turn it into it. It doesn't matter what you do. So, I have a fairly famous tech thought leader on Twitter, and he's incidentally also super into MMA. I didn't know this for a long time, and he has a WhatsApp group, and I'm in it now, and they talk about MMA stuff, and he is so obsessed. I see myself in him the way I used to be at some point. And I also see, he's not training. So he's just with the watching and reading every article and every rumor and just being like super obsessed about it. But now that I've cooled down a little bit, although I still love it so much, I can see the unhealthiness of it. I can see that here's to talk about myself. There were parts of my life when I really over-obsessed over MMA and martial arts that were in such bad shape that I had to pour all my energy into that. That was that one area that I found some joy and some stimulation. It was a different stimulation as well. It was a new field that I knew nothing about. So I got really interested in learning about it and studying, and I got my entertainment from it, and I got also a lot of emotion. Like when you really get into fighting and you watch fights, it's like nothing else. It's such a thrill. It's such a agony and pain and excitement. It really is an adrenaline dump. I've almost cried at fights, right? Moved to tears many times. So this area that's just a hobby turned into something that was covering for a lot more ground in my life than just a hobby, right? There was my ambition that with training, I needed to become the best or as good as possible, at least impressive, and so I see that obsessiveness now in him and I go, this isn't healthy for someone in his life situation. This is taking up too much ground. Now, if you are 17 years old and you're a young fighter and your aspiration is to be a fighter, it's fine to take something that takes over your entire life. Fine, right? Yeah, this is your world. But Not when you're in your 30s or 40s, you have family, you have children, you have a business, you have rich life, and you are this obsessive where there's not an hour that passes that you don't read 17 tweets and watch 2 YouTube videos and post this. There's an area of your life that is imbalanced. It is too much. This is too much. And you've turned something that should be a passion into something that reeks of stress. It's too jittery. It's too tense for just passion or just fun. It's too much. There's a work, the laboring element in it that you're not noticing. You're like, no, I have so much fun doing this. But, with a bit of distance and perspective, everyone around you that's close to you could tell you, yeah, it's a bit much, and you seem to be a bit too much into it. So we can turn the most beautiful things into trouble. That's why the original tagline of this podcast was, this is not going to be another to-do item, right? That was the original mission statement of this podcast when we started it. We said, all right, we're starting a new podcast. I said, I want a creative outlet, a podcast where I could talk about anything. Who would have thought 2 years later I'd be talking about fucking God and fasting? Right? Nobody. Yeah. But we said, we're going to just talk about anything. And the only thing this podcast has to be is fun and creative, and it can't become another to-do item. And what was the biggest struggle with the first year of recording is to fight the urge to turn it into a to-do item. At every step and turn, we're like, well, if we talk about these topics, we could promote it. And if we could make clips, we could make video. And if we did more about this, and why didn't we do it? Because that was in our nature. Well. It's a balancing act that never ends. Yeah. And this is the great thing about it, but it's so hard to understand that the great thing about it is that it never ends. That is the great thing. What if I told you that food, all you have to do is find a meal that will truly delight you. And once you found that, you'll never eat again in your life, right? Would that sound like a great value proposition? No, that's stupid. Why would that be the way this works? But then I go, but wait, Ramin, think about it. You find a plate of gold, like an amazing meal, the pleasure, the height, the apex of culinary enlightenment for yourself, like something that you really love deeply and gave you all this pleasure and joy. If you keep eating, you'll eat some shit as well afterwards. You inevitably will have to eat the normal stuff, oatmeals in the morning at your home, or some burnt toast or something before you get to eat something yummy again. And why go through the trouble of eating the average stuff and sometimes terrible things and sometimes things that make you sick and then sometimes nice things and sometimes really great things? Why go? And it never ends. You have to eat your entire life. Isn't that and you go, what is this person talking about? It's the same thing with everything else. It's love. It's a meaning, pleasure, health, peace, anything in life. The reason why you cannot arrive is because arriving is death. You want to live. So since you want to live, you're going to have to walk the balancing act of, constantly stepping in the wrong, picking the wrong food. You'll get a time, will gain some weight, then you'll lose some weight again. Eventually, maybe you get step by step wiser, more in touch with yourself, healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And so your path starts changing, but you always want to go. You always want to go, and it will always come with stumbles. And so, as you said on the podcast, it's not just those beginning troubles, it's a struggle before every recording. In every recording, there's a moment, before we start recording, there's a moment where one has to decide, am I showing up to create a podcast and tell a cool story, or am I showing up to make art and to play jazz and to have some fun? And even when we record sometimes in the middle, there's a left and a right on the fork, and we can take a left and it'll be work, and we take a right, it'll be fun. But fun is so much less safe, right? To take the route of fun and play and creativity always comes with big risk of failure, and we'll have to throw it away, and it's not going to be good. When you live fully, you live dangerously, right? And same thing with podcasting or with eating food, I guess. And so the tendency when you have something good in life, or you are planning for something good in life or something exciting in life, to want to take too much control of it and then suffocate it and turn it into work, turn it into stress, turn it into something that's not going to give you what you were looking for is so strong. And so that possibility is so always there, always available, and easily reachable to all of us. Yeah. So fighting that with awareness, that's kind of the tact of the rhythm of this dance. So listen, fasting, as they say in German, Fazit, my kind of what's the conclusion? I haven't spoken a lot about many spiritual moments that I did have on my walks. Little moments. Nothing as bombastic as I experienced last time. Many little moments, but still very, very meaningful moments. There's been one thing that happened that I'll just tell you off this podcast. It's very rare that we don't put everything on the podcast, but this is a little private thing I'll just share with you. But I had an incredibly beautiful time, I have to say. It was challenging. It was difficult. It was not easy, but it felt so good. I don't know. I could sense and feel I'm doing something really good for myself. This is good for me. I felt it was very good for my body. I had many things that happened during that weekend that is happening now where I feel much more in touch with my body, much more in touch with I had dreams at times of which foods I eat that are not good for me and why and what they do to me. And I had like much more clarity now. Ooh, I'm going to change this. I'm going to adjust that. I feel so much lighter. I feel so much more energized right now. So it's a great feeling to have this kind of boundless energy and feel body-wise lighter. I went to do some weightlifting today. And at the end, I couldn't help start to shadow box. And just the way I was moving was beautiful. I was like flying like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. I was so in flow, and I could tell my body feels so light and so fluid. And so I'm so excited about Muay Thai training tomorrow. I'm like pumped to go and train because I felt so good. And it was hard to describe, but there is something healing in sacrifice. There's something healing about saying no and really simplifying, sacrificing something so crucial as food. I also realized for the first time how big of a consistent source of joy and entertainment food is. And I knew it before, but I felt it very, very differently by not eating a whole fucking week. I was like, wow, this is such a big part of every human's life and every human's daily way to fill the day with some pleasure and something to do. And you take that away, you know how much more time you have? You have tremendous, terrifying amounts of time. When you take away eating and drinking, if you just have water, terrifying amounts of time. What are you going to do with it? Thankfully, I had a lot of good things to do with it, but I realized that much more intensely. But sacrificing all that, sacrificing food for a week and getting into this kind of slower state of mind and almost this hibernation state of mind and spirit felt very healing. It didn't feel good is not the right word because I didn't feel good, but it felt healing. It felt right. It felt grounding and cleansing, in an internal way. I mean, not just, it was an internal way, one way or another, but not just like my body's getting healthier. I don't know. I didn't know if that's what's going on or not, but it felt cleansing in a different way. And so I loved it. I definitely think I'm going to do it again, but no rush. I have a bunch of other adventures that are already lined up, and I'll wait till my body tells me that it's time to fast. I won't pre-plan it way in advance. But it was a tremendous experience. I honestly can only summarize how I felt at the very end of it with gratitude. Just tremendous gratitude. I'm so grateful this is such a deep, rich, and new experience. It was a very new experience, very new thing to experience while being alive. And it's so available. I have many new experiences. Thankfully, I have such a fantastic life where every year lots of crazy things happen. But usually some of these are more bombastic, like it's harder to reach, on an average day. But fasting is so available, and it is a human experience that I would recommend, and I would think every human would benefit going through at least once to do like a fast and experience what that feels like, that sacrifice, hunger, that, closing your body as a system mostly, right? And not being open to the world of stimuli, not being to the world of flavors and smells and putting things in your body that change your body chemistry and how you feel and what you do and that keeps you busy and distracts you, like taking all that away, and it's just kind of you inside yourself for a couple of days. I highly recommend it.